Good day, everyone. I am Michael, moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone for today's webinar, which is Rookie Supervisor Bootcamp Operation S.T.A.R.T. I would now introduce our presenter for today, Deborah Jenkins. Deborah Jenkins has over 20 years of experience as an accounting and human resource HR professional. Deborah earned a bachelor's degree in human resources management and an associate's degree in accounting. She further is a certified human resources professional from some of the leading associations in the world, including a professional in human resource (PHR) from the Human Resource Certification Institute. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Deborah.
Thank you, Michael, and welcome everybody. I hope you're enjoying your day so far. As we are going to be discussing Rookie Supervisor Bootcamp Operation S.T.A.R.T, as mentioned, I have a number of years of experience as a human resource professional. Our objectives will be to recognize the importance of leadership training for yourself and for your team, learn the benefits of establishing team ground rules from the onset, discover what Operation S.T.A.R.T is and how to enact it, and then realize that training can be fun. Our outline will follow these three-part sections: purpose of leadership training, establishing team ground rules, and enacting Operation S.T.A.R.T. To begin with, we all have said these, or we all have heard others say excuses of why we're putting off training. And we will begin with setting team ground rules. It's very important to set your expectations clearly and transparently so that your team knows what kind of a supervisor and leader you are going to be for them. Where do you start with setting your team ground rules? And it begins with deciding, are you going to just create these yourself, or are you going to include others to help develop? And then how are you going to move forward? And when are we going to do this? Now, if you're brand new supervisor, perfect timing. Here is an example of what we're talking about when you set team ground rules. And this can be for your work day, your operations in general, or for meetings, or both. So these are just some ideas of what you might want to include on your ground rules. You can also put these into a statement. You can have both as well. So those are just some ideas to work off of. Now consider, who will you invite to help develop your team ground rules? And if it is a company-wide list that your leadership team has approved, this might be something that you could include in your employee handbook. Now, the longest portion of our discussion today will cover enacting Operation S.T.A.R.T. You have your ground rules established, and you're ready to begin. It stands for SWOT Analysis, Training, Action, Reinforcement, and Trust. Starting with SWOT Analysis. SWOT Analysis stands for Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats. It was developed back in 1969 by 4 businessmen. It's important to look at the areas that you can utilize SWOT analysis within your work world. Financial resources. What about your physical resources? And what about natural resources? Intellectual resources. What do we do with SWOT analysis? We first focus on strengths. When we're dealing with people, we need to first look at focusing on skills, knowledge, and ability. I encourage you to always start with yourself. Sometimes it's very difficult to come up with those words and to identify what your strengths are there. As we move beyond strengths, we also need to look at weaknesses, followed by opportunities. This is where we are looking towards the future, and the threats are always going to be there to get in our way of reaching those opportunities, those goals. So starting off by just putting these into those categories is important. Gotten to know a little bit more about where their strengths lie. Now, if we're going to just look at one individual and how we could really drill down this SWOT analysis. So in a nutshell, you can kind of see how SWOT analysis can help you to move forward with a decision. Think about what areas of your job responsibility could SWOT be applied to. Now moving from S on to T. So do share the lectern whenever possible. And that leads us to the different learning styles. We're going to look at priority styles, types, topics, and methods. Again, turning to DISC, where depending on where a personality style lies within the DISC spectrum, priorities also are aligned with each individual. As we look towards styles, now if we look at the styles inventory, and then the fourth is the accommodating. These are risk takers. They like new experiences where hands-on and role-playing can really help solidify the message that you're trying to give them in the training. So keeping in mind everybody is different. As we look next at the types of training, now that we recognize that we need to be creative in our methods. So thinking about what types of training is important as well and prioritizing. Once you've figured out which type of training, then you can pull in all of the different methods that will reach each person's style. So do ask yourself, how do you learn best? Second, how can you include these techniques in your next training? And third, what are the highest priority training topics for you and for your team? And we can move then on to action, A for action. With actions, it's important to start off to identify the desired outcome or goal, and then determine the requirements to achieve your goal, communicate the purpose of your goal. Now, as we move on to R for reinforcement, what does it take for reinforcement? We also need to reinforce with recognition. So consider, how will you reinforce your action plan, part of your reinforcement to your continued self-development. And moving on to T for trust. Trust should be the basis for all our moral trainings. START. It does take 3 requirements for trust. Think about what areas of trust do you need to work on. And our takeaways for today, the first is to start with yourself, leading by example. That includes self-reflection, your buy-in, and your participation in all of the activities within your work world. The second is to identify values and establish team ground rules early. The third is to enact Operation START, focusing your energies on SWOT, strength, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats, and align the strengths appropriately, including your own strengths. Provide and participate in ongoing training. Put your strategic plans into action. Reinforce desired behaviors, and keep the faith and trust the process. I just thank you all for showing up today, and I encourage you to be patient with yourself. Show yourself patience, empathy, and kindness, and don't be afraid to ask for help before things get out of control. And have a blessed day, everyone.
Thank you, Deborah. So that does conclude the session for today. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now. Have a great day.
Thank you, Michael. Have a great day.